Kisses. I'm your host, Kristen, and today is FriYAY Live. We come to you live on Fridays before we launch our video how-to tutorials and blogs with instructions and patterns on Saturday mornings. I like to give you a little bit of a preview of what's to come. We used to do this on Facebook on Fridays, but we have switched back to YouTube. So I hope you enjoy it. Let us know if you've been enjoying this new format. I would love to hear from you in the comments. So get your fingers cracking, do your thing, and type in the comments. So let's begin. I am going to tell you, I haven't picked up a spool knitter in quite a while, and that's probably the case if you are a loom knitter or crocheter knitter and you haven't been a beginner for a while. But a lot of people, when they start off loom knitting on a spool loom. They go by so many different names. This is just one of them. Maybe I should grab my green one. It's a little easier to see against this bright color here. Hold on a sec. This is a pre-made small French knitter. This is from Susan Bates. And there are so many spool knitters out there. Some of them look just like this, and they're wooden and have like a lady's face on them, and she's got clothes on and everything. And it's called A Knitting Nancy. Some people call it corking. Spool knitting. I also saw tomboy knitting in my research, but this has been done for hundreds of years, several centuries. So here's another one. This is the one that I used when I first started. This one right here, it has 8 pegs on one side and 5 on the other. So anybody on here, old school loom knitters, I say old school, anybody doing loom knitting back in 2006 or a little bit later, tell me what brand this is. We know what brand. We wish that it was still around because it was a fun little brand. I'm going to say hey to everybody while you're jumping on. Hey, good morning, Alicia. I see you coming in. And Susan, good morning, Joanne. It's good to see you. Cohen is here. Cohen Lee, good morning. We got Kathy. Welcome. I'm so glad to have you guys. Yeah, so this is right here. This is a spool loom. This is a spool loom. Here is a fun homemade one. Yeah, so this one's homemade, and I'm going to show you tomorrow in tomorrow's video. I'm going to show you how to use one and make one, even this cute little one for a little kid. We're going to make them, so it'll be really fun. I see Lori's jumped in. Hey, you have a pink one like me, Alicia? Awesome. I also have a purple one like this too. Do you remember the brand name? They're so popular. People still are finding them at garage sales and enjoying them at swap meets and all kinds of places. But yeah, this one's got 5 pegs and then 8 here, but most of them, or many of them, will have anywhere from 2 pegs to 4 pegs. And then as you get larger and larger, we just turn to it and call it loom knitting. But for a while, it's spool knitting. Here, I'm just going to jump in and tell you the brand. No one said it yet, so I want to jump in and tell you. This one is the, this is the Nifty Knitter brand. There's an off-brand one that has purple, or maybe Nifty Knitter also did a purple in this one. There's also Boy, I think made some. There's a flower loom that has 12 of them, and then they start just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Many people make them with wood. You can home make them with a cork that's hollowed out. That's why it's called corking. Let's see, Mare Peak, it says her mother made, or I don't know, he or she, my mother made them with wooden cotton reel and 4 nails. So yeah, the little cotton spool or reel is perfect, and it has a little hole down the middle, and yeah, you can put on the like a little brass or metal pins or pegs on the top. These are nice because they have a little head on there, and so they keep the yarn from popping off. And you can also do something with much larger pegs or pins like this one. Oh, and Alicia says my purple one's from Boy. Okay, so then I must have a Boy one in purple, and then my Nifty Knitter one is this kind of pink color. So these are really great. I will tell you that the bigger gap between the pegs and the larger gauge that you're going to get. So this particular strand came from this spool here, and see the gauge on this one. Let's see if I can get that in focus. So that yarn is also the same as this yarn. So the pegs or pins on here, these are popsicle sticks, so they're larger around than the pins here, and the gap or spacing is bigger. This one, I've got it stuck on here superficially, but I actually had a little bit more round of a circle, an opening on the circle. These are toilet paper rolls. So this particular one came off of a toilet paper roll. So you can see how the narrower tube with the pegs closer together in the same yarn, these are two different colors, but it's actually the same yarn, how different a gauge that you get. And so these can be used for a variety of objects, projects, whatever you like. You can use them for your own cording. You can use them for their own individual project. This would be a fun little bangle to wear. Lots of different little bangles around the wrist to wear, little gifts. People love having like a nice soft bracelet. These are actually easier to wear than a bunch of other bracelets, especially if you got your arm leaning on a desk all day for kids, or if you have carpal tunnel. Actually, it's a good alternate to bracelets. You can put them around a hard ring and use them as those big looped key rings. Does anybody have those? Those are a kind of neat project. You could actually slip one of these through it if you didn't close up the hole on one end. But yeah, those big bangles. My daughter has one with her keys, and she likes those big bangles because if she's running around, she can throw the bangle on, and then her keys are hanging off of that. And it's also easier to find in her purse. So a lot of people will take them and roll them up and continue rolling them up into, say, a coaster, or stitch them together to make a rug. I would love to know what, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in here has used them for in the past, if you have enjoyed using a spool loom. They're really just great for keeping your hands and minds occupied if you just get a lot of nervous energy and you want to do it. I mean, some people just use them kind of as an old school fidget. That's kind of fun. A good trivet, Lori says. Excellent. I love that. Marlene, good morning. I see you jumping in. Good morning. Yeah, so I dropped one. I'm like, where did it go? Like, I dropped on the fly. I'm not going to go fishing for that. But I have made several. So in my video that comes out tomorrow, I'm going to show you how to use a spool loom and work that. And actually, I have a video already working this spool loom with, I think I did it, I can't remember if I did it with the 5 stitches or the 8, but since then, well, first of all, you can cast on several different ways. If you're a loom knitter, you know there's so many different ways to cast on. But I discovered a really quick way to cast this on if you have 4 pegs. And so you're going to be like, oh, wow, that's way easier. So if you'll do it the way I show you tomorrow, you're going to be like, oh, that's really fast to do with 4 pegs. So yeah, and it's all flat knit. It's really easy. And we do have a right and left-handed video tutorial on how to do that. So the reason why I have so many of these, look, I've got all these fun, funky ones. And I've got like a dozen of these toilet paper rolls here. But the reason why I have them is because next week I'm helping teach a class. I've got like 13 kids that I'm teaching from ages like kindergarten to 3rd grade, how to, it's an art class. And so we're doing spool loom knitting, and I'm excited. So I'm actually going to make up a lot of these ahead of time. And like this one right here, you can see where the rubber bands are. These we put the rubber bands on and then added tape. So what I'm actually going to do is just make them up like this first, or the short ones, and then let them decorate them up. So all that you need to make one, if you want to make one, you don't own one, is you need like a couple of rubber bands. and toilet paper roll, or you can get a paper towel roll and cut that up, and some masking tape, you know, and then you'll want something for your pegs, and I've just got these popsicle sticks. You just need 4. And then I actually just take I take the toilet paper roll and actually cut it down so it doesn't collapse on me later, and then roll it up and tape it together and put on my popsicle sticks and rubber bands, and then decorate it up with some tape. So I'm going to show you how to actually do that in tomorrow's video. The whole tutorial will take you how to cast on, how to make all the stitches, how to take it off. So casting off, so putting your yarn on, working with it until you get the length you want, taking your yarn off, and then also an entire video in the same video making a spool loom. So, all right, let me jump back over to comments, see what everybody's gonna say. Oh, Amazon says, Alicia says, Amazon says, Amazon has a spool loom like the knitting machine where you turn the handle. Interesting. How many pegs does that have, Alicia? Does it really just have 4 pegs? There is a purple one. I'm trying to remember, and it is like a knitting machine with the crank. I think I know it has more than 4 pegs to it, and it does make a spool thing. It may be the one you're talking about. And I had gotten, oh, we do have someone from France. Hello. Welcome, bonjour. We have, I say we, at my house, I had that spool loom with the crank. It's like purple. It has like a clear thing at the top. And it caught so bad. It would catch on the yarn and then get stuck, and then you can't fix it. So I don't know, there was something with it. You had to put a weight at the bottom. These French knitters are so much easier, just making your own or using one that's already made. You could also make one out of like a PVC. So if you have a piece of PVC piping, or just get a hollow, I don't want to say a dowel, but a wooden, you know, some kind of hollow wooden thing, like an actual old spool. Someone on here was saying, but yeah, that would be something you could have. Yeah, Amazon and Walmart have the pink spool loom, so that, yeah, they have more stitches, but the 4 stitches I think are the best for the smaller gauge and getting them closer together. Tricotin, you call it tricotin, and I think that also that word, from what I understand, it also means knitting, or it's usually applied to loom knitting, and so from what I understood, that's what it applies to. Let me know if it has like a literal translation, because every time I saw that word when I was researching years ago, I was remembering it was applying that word to any knitting on a knitting loom without, you know, without 2 sticks as needles. And I'm not sure if it just applies to spool knitting or not, but the French knitting or French knitter name, I'm not sure why it was called the French knitter, but it's also called spool knitting or corking, tomboy knitting, knitting Nancy. Those are other names for it. So it's gotten so many names over the years, but it's essentially loom knitting with at least 2 or more pegs. A lucette has 2 pegs, and I do have a video on how to use a lucette, and but this is not the same as necessarily as lucette. Brand is Tulip and Prim Spool Loom. Awesome. Okay. So anyway, I think they're really good. They're really good to have for a beginner and to understand. So if you have wanted to learn how to loom knit, then this is a really easy, quick way to do it. Also, if you want to make your own, that's a great way to do it, because if you're like, well, I don't want to go out and buy a loom, you could just make one this way, and enjoy the benefit of making your own little knit tube here. So let's see. Oh, okay, what does she have to say? Hi, Shivari. Good morning. Welcome. Okay, Caro, is that your name? Caro? Yes, the difference for the needle, in fact, we call needle knit just, oh, uh, tricotier? Am I saying that right? Um, it has been a really, really, really long time since I took French, and I'm like botching it completely. I'm so sorry. Pardon. Yes, tricotier, tricotier. I'm trying to get the R part right. I've seen Clover has a brand, one too. Okay. I know. I wish I had grabbed the other one. I'd like, I can imagine. I have this wall on the other side of this. Like if I was looking at it without this thing object in my face, I have this whole wall with all these looms. And every time I do this, I'm like looking for it in my brain. Like, oh, I just want to go grab that off of my wall and show you guys. So I don't have it in front of me. And all my wooden looms are right here. So, and I don't have any wooden corking or spool looms over here. I really don't. They all have way more than that. Now I do have a couple of plastic looms up here, but anyway, most of them are all on this other wall that you can't see. So anyway, I'm so glad you guys joined me today. I'm excited to show you these for tomorrow. And in fact, these videos, I made them also because the class that I'm teaching next week with all these young kiddos, I thought the video is going to be really handy for them. Now, the way I'm teaching is not necessarily like for them. It's more for if their parents wanted to watch it and then show them how to do it. So I didn't really teach it in a manner like for children. I probably could, but I didn't guide it that way because my channel isn't all geared that way. So I thought, well, an adult might want to do it. So honestly, if you're from 4 to 94 or 5 to 95, you really could do this. You could knit with a spool loom. But of course, making them, I showed like using some scissors and cutting with and everything. So not necessarily for some of the younger hands. So anyway, I hope you guys check that out tomorrow. Talking about projects moving forward, coming up in the next few weeks, we do have some loom knitting and needle knitting projects. And then we are going to have a whole month of October working with our potholder loom, and I'm really excited about it. We're going to be doing some very different type of potholder looms. We're going to be going over a few extra or under a few extra of the colors and not necessarily under over in a standard way every time to make some really different designs. I'm going to do several that are more basic and they're easy to understand, but they look more complicated, and they're really fun. They'll be really great for gifts for the upcoming holiday seasons, and just for setting out on your table. You could stick with some fall colors because we're going to do it all of October. So if you love those fall colors and stuff and you want to go ahead and get a bunch of cotton loops for your 18 peg potholder looms, now is a really good time to order them so that you have plenty of time to get them in. So we are working with 18 pegs. I'm working with a Cindy wood loom. The pegs are really close together. You could do the one where the pegs are more spread out. I have the ones where the pegs are closer together, but they're the 18 peg and they're the cotton loops. And yeah, so if you want to get a big old bag of loops from either Cindy wood looms or Harris looms, is it Harris or Harrisville? They also have those cotton loops. They're like premium cotton loops. I believe there are some places online that do wool loops. I just heard that recently, but I haven't sought out to find them. Cotton and wool are great. If you found wool loops, let me know because that would be awesome. Wool loops are great because they are going to be more in the waterproof type. They repel, cotton is going to absorb water, and it will not scorch. So they're great for trivets, but because it repels the water, they're a bit more waterproof, say if you wanted to use them for something that has a lot of moisture on it. That way it doesn't draw the moisture into your project. So that's just a little tip from me to you if you're curious about it. So wool and cotton are going to be heat resistant and not melt. You do not want to use acrylic loops if you intend to use these actually for heated objects that are really, really hot. I mean, warm is okay, but a really hot pan, you do not want to put on acrylic pot holders. So I know, and I don't know why some of these pot holder looms out there, the old school style kind, are like with acrylic or polyester or something, because I'm like, those would melt really fast if it's hot enough. So yeah, Alicia says, I can't wait for the pot holders. So the thing that is coming up next week and the week after is a new inventive way to do a towel for your bathroom or a kitchen. There is no button or required. There's nothing like no fasteners or everything. It's going to be something that I hope everybody ends up putting as a staple in their house. It has a new different look to it. I think it's going to be really fun, and I don't really want to show you just yet because I want to be able to show it to you when it comes out. So we have the videos for the items already, and then we're just making the patterns right now. Like I'm making the samples right now. So one is going to be needle, one is going to be loom, and they'll come out over the next few weeks. And then again, all of October, we're going to be working on pot holder looms, and that'll be fun. So if you want to gather your fall colors or your Christmas colors, and they'll be great. And you could even stitch together several pot holders to make a really nice runner for the middle of your table. That would be really beautiful for your fall table, and put your Horn of Plenty on there, or your big dishes and casseroles, or your turkey, or whatever you've got rolling out for your big meal with everybody, or your big old pizza box. I've also heard of people who have holiday spaghettis. Maybe it's just a big pot. I don't know. But these would be great to stitch together to make your own bigger trivet for these large parties. It would be fun. Hobby Lobby has cotton loops and other loops, which I'm not sure what the fiber counts, just where I got mine. Awesome. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So there's all kinds of places to get your stuff. I just really like the ones at Cindy Wood Looms. When I say Cindy Wood Looms, it's CIND and then Wood looms. And I think it's also premiumknittinglooms.com. But anyway, they have like the thicker cotton ones, and they're the same ones from Harris, because I think they actually sell the Harris loops. So yeah, I got like a giant bag of them, and they're well worth it, especially if you want to make a lot of different ones, just a big variety of colors, or you can buy their designer loops that I think you can get in specific color families. Excuse me. So anyway, yeah, they probably still have the loops at Hobby Lobby, Alicia, because I think people are always doing pot holders. You just kind of have to look around. They're not always, I don't think the hobby stuff for the loops and looms are actually with the knitting looms. So if you are at a hobby craft store and you don't see the pot holder looms or loops right next to all the yarn, be sure and ask someone, because it could be in another hobby section and they're not necessarily placed with it. That's just from my own experience. I believe Hobby Lobby, they're in a totally separate area. Michael's may have them right next to it, and Joann's may, but I'm not sure about Hobby Lobby or AC Moore. I really don't know about AC Moore because we don't have any AC Moore by us. And then Walmart, I think, has them in a slightly different area, so they're not right next to it. So you definitely want to check that out. So anyway, well, I have prattled on and on and on. Be sure and check out our video tomorrow for the French knitter spool looms, on how to make one and how to actually just work with them. So I'm excited for that. You guys have a great day. Happy knitting and crochet and tricoter. All right. Love you all. We'll see you soon. Bye.